Welcome on into the All Aussie Rules Football Podcast. We've got another episode coming up today. It's episode 7 of 2026, and all the match sims are done. 6 days, 9 matches. We've watched them all, so you don't have to. And yeah, that's what we're here to talk about today. We'll go through each game one by one, tell you everything you need to know about them. Who was good, who was bad, what we can take from them. I mean, it's Match Sims, so I mean you can't take too much, but we'll see what we can find that's interesting, important, and go through that. If you're new around here, don't forget to hit that subscribe or follow button, depending what your platform of choice is. We do 2 episodes every week for the rest of the year until end of November at least. Here at All Aussie Rules, it goes live on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts every Monday and Friday at the moment. And then once the season starts, it'll be Monday and Thursday. Make sure you are followed. Make sure you like this if you enjoy it. Leave a comment. Let me know what your team did in Match Sim. Do you agree with me? Who was your favourite player? Who performed the best? Let me know all of that. Chuck it in the comments and I will have a look at it. We also do comments of the week once a week per episode. That doesn't make sense, but you know what I mean. So last Friday, there was a comments of the week. This Friday, there'll be another one. So let me know. Give me all your Match Sim review notes, and they might potentially show up in next episode, episode 8, which will be out on Friday. What else do we have to go through? Not a lot else. Don't forget to follow all the socials. All Aussie Rules everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, /X. Blue Sky, TikTok, you name it, we got it. Go follow along. And let's keep this preseason football content going. Let's jump into it. And what you're all here for. Oh, no, not yet. We'll just do a quick rundown of our preseason, I guess. I always forget that I should do this at the start of the episode, and why not? Let's do it again. That's where we're up to in this preseason of the podcast. Obviously, once the season starts, we will continue doing podcasts every single week, twice a week. But as you can see, this is episode 7. There's already 6 on the channel. If you haven't caught them, go check them out. There's some good content there, I believe. Last week was season predictions. We've done predicting every single match of the season. Tier list, we've done best 23s, which granted may have changed a little bit. As you can see, that was released 3rd of February. They were done, though, mid-January, so things may have changed a little bit. Club list analysis, and also best players was the first episode. Next week, or this week, later this week on Friday, we're doing a full season preview. Everything you need to know about the season ahead, games to watch, players to watch, everything you could possibly want to know about the 2026 AFL season. And then next week, we'll be reviewing the preseason matches, so the official community series matches that are coming up this week between Wednesday and Sunday. All 9 matches, all 18 teams will be playing. So we'll review them next week. I think the games will wrap up Sunday night, so I'll be recording that Sunday night in hopes that I can get it out Monday morning, but it might go out Monday night. We'll see how that goes next week. And then finally, football will be officially back with opening round. We'll be doing our preview episode of all of the opening round fixtures, all 5 of them, on the 5th of March. So make sure you've subscribed or followed along. Keep up to date with all the latest in the football world with us here at All Aussie Rules. Let's jump into the next part of our podcast, which is just a little look at our preseason previews, which officially will be wrapped up this week. We have done almost all the teams now. At time of release of this episode, there is 3 to go. Sydney will be out tomorrow on Tuesday. West Coast will go out on Wednesday, and the Bulldogs will round us out on Thursday, and then all 18 teams will be up on the YouTube channel. So if you're not already, make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube and check out your favourite team as well as any other team that you're interested in. Plenty of good content there. We've gone through recent seasons, all the ins and outs, depth chart, best 23s, and also a fixture analysis, as well as our little thoughts on where we see each team finishing season 2026, maybe their expectations, that sort of stuff. So go check them out. Put a lot of work into those episodes, so go check them. And yeah, that's a wrap on all the housework, let's jump into what we're actually here for, and that is Match Sim Reviews. First up, we led off on Monday morning, Monday afternoon, sometime around there. It all melts into one. But it was Hawthorn Geelong at the new Kennedy Centre on Monday. And as you can see, Hawthorn won that one 111 to 94. Pretty solid win. Both teams can probably take a lot out of this one. I think Hawthorn probably had the stronger lineup out of the two teams. If we're being completely honest, we'll go through the players missing in a second. But yeah, really, really good showing by Hawthorn. Well, Geelong, they'll be happy enough, I think, from this. So players that were missing for Geelong, they didn't have Danger, Bailey Smith, Holmes, Stewart, and Humphreys. All of them were missing due to playing in Origin on the weekend. And then they were also missing Jeremy Cameron, Sean Manor, Tyson Stengel, Jack Martin, Mark Blicavs, Tanner Bruin was a laid out, and Zach Guthrie as well. So a lot of players there. Almost all of them would be actually in their best 23, just about, I think. So almost all of them would be. So it was pretty much a second tier Geelong team out there on the park. Meanwhile, Hawthorn, they were missing Barras, Gunston, Battle, Hardwick, all of them due to Origin, I think. And then Ginnivan and Day, who are both injured. I think Ginnivan's probably still going to be back very early season. Meanwhile, Day's probably missing the first half of the year. Yes. So I think overall, Geelong probably put out the weaker team, but you can only play who you play, and you can only beat who you can beat. First quarter went the way of the Cats. I think they were really quite strong early. Their ball movement was quite good, in my opinion. They were up by 3 goals, 6-0-5 at quarter time. After that, though, Hawthorn controlled most of the game, looked really good. And yeah, that's basically the long and the short of the game flow. Geelong's key forwards were really, really impressive. Shannon Neal kicked 4. He looks like he's getting better and better. So that's big news for Geelong. Ollie Henry and Polkinghorn are probably playing for maybe the same spot in this team. Obviously, the forward line has a few players to come back in. Martin, Stengel, Manor, Cameron. So maybe not room for Ollie Henry and Polkinghorn in the same team. I don't know. We'll see. But they both kicked 3 and both were very, very impressive. So that's something to take out of this game, I guess. Obviously, they've got another preseason game this week, so we'll see what that forward line looks like there. Hawthorn, they shared the goals amongst everyone, and most players looked really quite good. Connor McDonald played mainly midfield and was really, really good. He had 24 touches and a goal. They've been hyping him up as a midfielder all pre-season, and he showed that he's up to it here, granted against a second-string Geelong midfield. Hawks Ruck is an interesting little side story here. Obviously, the last couple seasons, Lloyd Meek has clearly been their number one ruck. There's been a lot of talk that maybe he's struggling a little bit with the new rules. Ned Reeves probably beat him in this one. Overall, was probably the number one ruck for Hawthorn throughout the game. Do they play both? Maybe they do. We'll see how that shapes up. They've already got a lot of tall players at Hawthorn between their rucks and their tall forwards and stuff. So we'll see how that shapes up, I guess. But at the moment, with 5 on the bench, I think there will be quite a few teams that do play 2 ruckmen. So Hawthorn may be one of them. On the side of Geelong, Warple had 8 tackles, looked pretty solid in the midfield, was one of their better players. Granted, once again, they were missing some key midfielders. Dempsey was good. Both inside and outside game was good. He's a good runner. We know that, and he showed that here. George Stevens pushing for a spot, I think, in my opinion. He's looking like he will be a good player. Hoffman looks a good type off the back line as well for them. And yeah, we went through everyone they're missing. Final takes from this game. Hawthorn, really impressive. I think they'll be pretty happy with their hit out. It's a preseason game. Result doesn't matter too much. I think they'll just be happy that some of their players that they were blooding in sort of different sort of positions, mainly McDonald, were really good. And overall, their team was a very good team style where they all contributed. It wasn't one person kicking 6 goals and going with that. Obviously, their leading goal kicker from last year, plus probably their best 2 defenders, not playing here. Um, and they still kind of carried the load and shared it evenly amongst everyone was pretty impressive. Geelong, they won't mind too much about losing. As we said, they were missing quite a few players here, and still they put up a pretty good fight. They were right in it, and yeah, they only just lost in the end. So pretty good result. Both teams, I think, overall pretty happy. I don't think there's any major injuries from this game. So overall, I think both teams pretty happy. Jumping into the next game, this was on Wednesday night, and it was up in Brisbane at Brighton Homes Arena. Brisbane beat Carlton, and the Baggers got the win, winning it in the end 15-13, 103 to 13-10, 88 for the Brisbane Lions. Really good finish by the Blues. I think most of the way, maybe not most of the way, but Lions felt like they were in control for a fair chunk of it, but Carlton's finish was very, very strong throughout the final quarter, especially. Yeah. The new Blues, really, really good. Ainsworth kicked 4. He was really good, impressive in his first game as a bagger. Hayward kicked 2 and had some major power chucks. They were very impressive. If you haven't seen them, running up and down the wing and then just went on and tried to chase the ball down after that. So good effort from Hayward in his first hit out as a bagger. And Taylor Byrne kicked 3 goals in the last quarter. Very, very impressive last quarter from him. Granted, maybe teams were a little bit weaker at that point in terms of some players had gone off, but still, 3 goals, really, really impressive. Maybe he's someone to watch this season in terms of pushing for selection. This game did not have an injury-free run like the previous one. Oscar Allen and Ryan Lester both concussed for Brisbane, so I don't think either will be playing in the Community Series game. They both hypothetically should be fine for their first game, which is still basically 2 weeks away, close enough too. So they should be fine for that, but we'll see. But yep, still disappointing for them. And then for Carlton, Adam Chera, another hammy. He just keeps doing them. So we'll see what that means for him, how long he's out. But disappointing nonetheless. For the Lions, in terms of changes in positioning, Coleman was probably the main one out there. He started forward and pretty much played exclusively as a forward, and looked okay. Kicked a goal early, contributed for sure. I think this move has been made as a kind of a necessity due to just the fact that Brisbane are starting to rack up halfback flankers. They've got an abundance of midfielders and they've got an abundance of rebounding defenders. So I think that's just kind of where they're at as a team and a club right now, that Coleman probably didn't have much space there. Maybe as a wingman or a half-forward flank were the best options for him. So they've chucked him forward in this one, and he showed some okay signs. So I think he's definitely good enough to be in their best 23, and likely that's probably going to be in the forward line as we see it right now. The other big one was Dan Annable that most people were talking about. His first run around with the Lions senior team. Obviously, there was a lot of talk last year about the fact that he would have been in their premiership side. He was quiet. He played on the wing. He didn't have heaps of it, but I mean, it's his first hit out. We'll see what that means going forward. He'll likely run out again this weekend, and we'll see a bit more of him. Dane Zorko, huge, had massive numbers. Both Ashcrofts were really good. Zach Bailey, good hit out. Darcy Wilmot, good. So all of Brisbane's keys were very, very good. They just didn't win. They were missing quite a few players who we'll go through shortly. On the other side of the fence, Jacob Smith kicked a good goal early, looked pretty solid. He is, at the moment, still the favourite to win the Rising Star this year, obviously having missed all of last season. We've talked about him many times on this podcast already this year. He was good, showed some good signs. I would expect that he will be definitely in their starting team, in their best 23, and probably almost a starting midfielder for them, especially now that Adam Chera's also gone down. Speaking of that midfield, Pitane in the ruck was he was the best ruckman on the ground. He was very good in my opinion. So that's a really good sign, I think, for Carlton that Pitane stood up in the ruck. Um, there's a lot of talk that maybe he wouldn't be their number one ruckman this year, but from what I saw on whatever day this was, Wednesday, I was reasonably impressed with him, and I would say he'll probably be their leading ruckman this season, at least to start with. Players that were missing in this one for the Lions, no Charlie Cameron, no McCluggage, no Sam Draper, obviously injured Duday. Logan Morris not playing, Rayner not playing, Hipwood's out injured, and Ainsworth also wasn't out there. Meanwhile, for the Blue Baggers, Paddy Cripps obviously had origin duties on the weekend before, and then Cohen, Akers, Waitering, who got injured in the origin game, and is the line ball decision to make it back for round one, opening round, but we'll see how that goes. And Nick Newman and Nick Hayes also did not play. I think Carlton take a lot out of this. They'll be absolutely stoked. I know it's pre-season. They beat the reigning premiers though, so that's always a positive. This game obviously meant a lot more for Carlton than it did for Brisbane. Brisbane's whole philosophy here is just getting players fit, getting them match ready, because this means nothing. Where you do want to win every game you go out and play as a player, no doubt, but that their main focus is getting run in the legs, and they got that here. A lot of good match time for a lot of players, and quite a few players that played really well. So they'll be happy. Carlton will be absolutely happy. So overall, both teams pretty pleased, I think, with the result and with how things progressed. Obviously, outside of the injuries, Chera is the big one for Blues, and Allen and Leicester for Brisbane. But other than that, all went well. Next up, we went to Whitten Oval on Thursday for the Bulldogs Swans. Both teams missing some players. Bulldogs missing a lot more of their starting team. So I don't think you can read too much into the Bulldogs here, but you can read a lot into what the Swans were trying to show. And I think they did pretty well with that. In the end, it was 15-9-99 for the Swans, 9-12-66 for the Bulldogs. So a comfortable 33-point win. They looked good throughout the Swans here. Their key forwards were outstanding. The new duo, Curnow kicked 4, McDonald kicked 4. So Curnow in his first hit out as a Swan, really good. McDonald finally showing hopefully some consistency up there, we'll see. But really good performance from those two in their first hit out as a duo together. There's no doubt that the Bulldogs were missing a lot more players this week. If we go through them, they were missing Lobb, Norton, Tim English, Bontempelli, Darcy, Treloar, Ed Richards, Cody Waitman, who probably won't play until mid-season, we'll see, and Vandermeer, whereas the Swans were missing Warner, Papley, McInerney, a few others, but more fringe-like players. So in terms of absolute talent, the Bulldogs clearly missing more there. Missing their two main key forwards in Norton and Darcy. They're hypothetically their best backman in Rory Lobb. Their ruckman in English, and then probably over the last 2 years, their best two midfielders in Bont and Richards. So the Bulldogs were absolutely missing an absolute weight of stars. And for that reason, it was more so a hit out of their second tier players, I guess, and just get fitness and see who is pushing for selection more so than worrying about the result. Not that many teams probably worried too much about results, but yeah, I wouldn't read too much into this for the Doggies. So it'll be much more interesting to see how they go this weekend coming up once a lot of these players are back, because most of the ones missing were missing due to the fact that they played in Origin on the Saturday and this game was on Thursday. obviously didn't want anyone backing up, and that makes sense. For Sydney, Heaney, Goulden, Blakey, all great. All really, really good. Goulden's flying. Heaney looked ready to go. He's going to explode again this season by the looks. Blakey, um, we've hyped him up a lot this off-season. Once again, he proved us right. And Malcolm Roseas for Swans in his first hit out in the red and white was pretty good as well. So some really positive signs for the Swans and a lot of new Swans as well as old Swans. So really good signs there. Bulldogs, we're not reading too much into it. Certainly, we'll see how they go this weekend, more so than last. That's about all I have for that game. Let's jump into the next one. And this was same day, Thursday, but night time, up at People First Stadium on the Gold Coast. And it was the Suns v the New Look Saints. And what a hit out this one was. The Saints end up smashing the Suns, thanks to the Suns kicking poorly in front of goal, but even still, they absolutely smashed them. 16-11, 107 to 412, 36. You read that right. What's even worse is Gold Coast kicked 3 of their 4 goals in the first quarter. If you take out the first quarter, it was an absolute bumping. The Saints kicked 14-11, 95 after quarter time to 1 goal 9, 15. That's an 80-point drubbing in the final 3 quarters. You can't read too much into it, as I've said, with all the other preseason games so far. Match Sims, different teams are doing different things. There's different players missing, all that sort of stuff. But really positive showing for St Kilda. Meanwhile, the Suns, what can we make of that? Poor goal kicking, but other than that, it was not much of a showing. We'll see how they go. I think they play Brisbane this week. That's going to be a much more telling sign of where the Gold Coast Suns are. Many people have some high hopes for the Suns this year. We'll see if that is likely to happen or not. We'll see. But for now, not a great showing. Couple injuries. Ethan Reid and Jack Silvani, one for each team, both had concussion. So not an ideal start for Silvani's career as a Saint. Worth noting, Windhager played back flank, which we did highlight that St Kilda kind of needed someone to go into that role. I thought that maybe it would have been Flanders, but he went into the mid. So yeah, Windhager back, Flanders mid. We'll see how that shapes up for them going through this year, whether that's how it stays, but we'll see. Max Hall, setting himself up for a big year. He was very, very good. We've hyped him up a little bit this preseason as well, and he's looking like he's going well. Higgins, good. Did what we expect from Higgins, and that's kicking goals. Flanders, 31 touches as a mid. You can just tell straight away that he's so much happier playing in the midfield than he was as a half-forward flanker. Cal Wilkie, really good for the Saints down back. He dominated. Probably the best key defender of the weekend, I think, in my opinion. From what we saw, Saints playing 2 rucks. What did we make of that? TDK, obviously, and Marshall. De Koning, probably, I think. I saw a stat saying that he had more ruck time than Marshall. But I think Marshall overall was better. He kicked a goal. He rucked pretty solidly throughout. So I was pretty impressed with Marshall. TDK, we'll see how he goes in the other practice game before the real season. But at the moment, I don't know how the 2 rucks will work out. One of them's probably going to play 60, 65% forward time. So we'll see how that shapes up. The Suns had a lot more players than the Saints out there. In terms of players on the bench, they had heaps and heaps. I think they had like 30-something people enter the field at some point or other. And of them, 2 of them aren't even on their lists. So 2 retirees from last year, Sexton and David Swallow, both came on in the second half. I think Swallow was the last quarter and Sexton might have been in the third quarter. But 2 players that aren't even playing. And that's just to manage the minutes of other players, which is a sign of what Gold Coast were trying to get out of this game. And that was just some run into the legs, but not overdoing it on anybody. In terms of good players, from the Suns. Leo Lombard showed some good signs. He played a few games in the AFL last year, perhaps was pretty quiet in those games, but I think he showed some signs here that he is ready to go at AFL level. So maybe a big improver this season, Leo Lombard. Um, and yeah, Anderson Power played limited minutes after playing Origin on the weekend, so they did back up, whereas most other people didn't. Suns were missing Rao, Collins, King, and Jeffrey. So some talent there. Obviously, Rao is injured for a little bit, not too long, hopefully. And the Saints were missing Hill, Sinclair, King, Butler, Howard, Henry, and Wood. So mainly fringe players outside of your Sinclair and Hill, and obviously King, who's injured at the moment. Um, as I've kind of stated already, we'll see more from Gold Coast this week when they go up against the Brisbane Lions. I mean, there'll be a better case study for them and where they're at. But overall, St Kilda will be stoked with this performance. Good hit out as they prepare for their opening round clash with Collingwood. And yeah, we'll see how Gold Coast progress throughout their pre-season. Next up, Friday morning, we had a couple match sims. The first one to look at was the Bombers and the Tigers at the hangar. And the Tigers kicked away early. They looked on for the first half of a quarter. I think they were 3-1 up at one point, or maybe even 4-1. But after that, it was almost one-way traffic. The Bombers absolutely killing it here. Their second quarter onslaught, I think they kicked 7-1 in the end for the second quarter. And yeah, ended up cruising to a pretty comfortable win, 50 points, 18-10, 118 to 10-8, 68. Really good performance from the Dons. They'll be happy with that showing. The young guys got some good game time. I don't think they had any major issues in terms of injuries from this game, so a good result overall. Their forward line looked good. That's been their biggest issue, especially last year, was this forward line just didn't seem to show much. And it did here. I know, against Richmond. I know it's pre-season, but their forward line did look really good. Caddy kicked 4, Langford 3, Peter Wright 2, so all their tolls are doing quite well, so that's a good sign. Blackiston played in the ruck. Obviously, he played down back last year due to having to, but he looked good in the ruck, so I think that's a good option for them there. Archie Roberts went in the middle. I think he had like 28 touches or something. He was very solid, so all positive signs from the Dons. Not too many negatives to take from this game, I don't think. They were missing Merritt, who played in Origin. They were also missing Sartis, Kako, Setterfield, Ridley, Archie Perkins, and obviously Nick Martin, who's not going to be seen this year. So overall, a bit of talent to come in. It's going to be interesting to see how this Bombers team lines up and then progresses through the season as they develop. A lot of people writing them off pre-season. I'm not fully writing them off, but I don't expect much from them. I still don't. This was a pre-season game against a team that finished second bottom last year, so you can't take too much from it, but overall, the Bombers will be pretty happy with that result. On the other side of the fence, Sam Grill was really impressive as a running backman sort of player. He used the ball quite well. He had 20-odd touches and looked like he's someone that the Tigers can depend on to get a bit of good ball use out of that back line. It's obviously a weird sort of spot that the Tigers are in, that they've got so many like high draft picks from the last couple seasons playing in their team. The other bit of positive was LaFou came back and kicked 3. Obviously only played about a quarter of football over the last 18 months or so. But looked really good, kicked 3 goals. So that's a really good result for him. The Tigers were missing Floston, Prestia, Josh Smilly, Maurice Rioli, Tom Lynch, Noah Bolter, Nathan Broad, and Seth Campbell. So arguable who was missing the more talent. I think Richmond were probably missing more of their starting 23, but obviously Zach Merritt is the big one that was missing for the Bombers. So make of it what you will, but overall, Bombers looked pretty good, although this time last year they looked pretty good as well. They beat Geelong in one of their practice games. They started with 6 wins in the first 10 or so weeks, and then it kind of all fell apart. So it's a long season. It's been the biggest issue for the Bombers over the last 4 or 5 years is how long the season is. It just takes a wear on them, but they've started really well here. A positive sign. They've obviously got another community series match this weekend, so we'll see how they back up to that. But yeah, some really positive signs for both teams. I think overall, Richmond just blooding players and Bombers really good performance. At the same time as that one, about half an hour later, Collingwood kicked off against the Giants in Bundoora, and the Giants got the win. 17-8, 1-10, played 11-9, 75. First 3 quarters was pretty close. The Giants had the lead just about all the way through this game, but it was always about that 10 to 20 point margin, and it was about 10 points, I think, going into the final quarter. Collingwood kicked the first of the last quarter, and it looked like, oh, we might have a good little finish, but the Giants kicked away, ended up cruising to a comfortable win, kicking, I think, the last 5 goals of the match and putting them to bed a bit. But once again, it's pre-season. What do you read into it? Maybe not too much. Collingwood were missing a lot of players due to resting them, whereas the Giants missing a lot of players due to injury. So this is almost as good as the Giants team will look in terms of players for the next probably few weeks at least, outside of they've got a couple players to come in, to be fair. Maybe not the best. Maybe I lied. They've got some good players to come in. They are missing still a few after that, though, whereas Collingwood's team will look completely different. The tools up forward for the Giants were probably the difference, to be honest. They absolutely dominated it, and Collingwood are missing multiple key defenders in this game, so it did kind of help the Giants in that aspect. But Briggs kicked 4. He played mainly forward as a backup ruck. Madden kicked 3, and Jake Riccardi kicked 2. So really good success from the Giants' tools up forward. Obviously, they were missing some tools as well, mainly speaking in Hogan and Cadman. Daniels and Angrove both did hammies to really extenuate that Giants injury list, and it's just keeps getting worse. Callum Brown also had a foot issue. See how serious that is, but it's certainly a worry at the moment is how many injuries the Giants have got. They look like they're probably going to be playing 2 rucks, potentially. We'll see what that means for their forward line, because obviously Hogan, Cadman to come in. Riccardi was good. Briggs and Madden, can they fit them both in as well? We'll see. But they could be a really tall team. We'll see how that plays out. Clayton Oliver, really, really good. Had like 30 touches. He's going to have quite a lot of pressure on him this year, certainly early season, with some of their injuries to Callahan, Green. So we'll see how that shapes up. And Harvey Thomas played some midfield minutes, quite a lot of midfield minutes, and was pretty good as well. On the other side of things, Roan Steele was probably just about Collingwood's best. He was good on the wing, ran, was part of a lot of plays. But we'll learn a lot more about Collingwood this coming up week. They play, I think, North Melbourne on Sunday in a practice game. So we'll see them there once they get a few more players back in, because we'll go through the players that were missing. Darcy Cameron, who obviously played Origin, so their main ruckman was not there. Both Dacos boys, Nick Dacos played Origin, Josh Dacos was just rested here. Lipinski, Schultz, Perryman, Bobby Hill, who's out for the foreseeable future. And then the tall defenders in Reef McGuinness, Darcy Moore, and Jeremy Howe all missing, and another midfielder in Ned Long. So of that, pretty much all of them would be in Collingwood's best 23. So that is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 probable players from their best 23. So you're looking at only half their team being out there on the weekend. So make of that what you will, but yeah, that's where they're at. In terms of Giants missing, they were missing Caniglio, Green, Toby Green, Tom Green, Lockie Ash, fresh from his best on ground in the Origin game. Jesse Hogan, Cadman, Bedford, Taylor, Callaghan, Kelly. Quite a few of them. They're not seeing you anytime soon. Kelly, Callaghan, Tom Green, all out for a while. Bedford as well, maybe. But still, plenty of good talent to come in. Probably for this week's practice game. I would imagine you'll see Toby Green, play. You'll see Lockie Ash out there. You'll see probably Jesse Hogan. I think Cadman should be out there as well, and Sam Taylor as well. So it'll be a much different Giants team as well this week. But overall, Giants got the win. Looked pretty solid. Collingwood struggled a little bit with the flow of the game at times, but I think they'll take enough from this. It was more so about getting run in legs and some of their younger players pushing for selection, like Anderson was pretty solid in his first hit out as a pie. He was a hard tackling player, so both teams take a bit from it, but we'll see what shapes up this week. Moving on to Friday afternoon football. This was probably, I was almost going to say the biggest flogging of the weekend, but I think maybe St Kilda flogging Gold Coast might have been the bigger one, but this was right up there. The Demons v the Kangaroos at Casey Fields, and Melbourne absolutely smoked them. 19-15-129, plays 7-7-49. 80-point drubbing in the end, and it was pretty consistent throughout the whole game. The first quarter, there were times where it was close. Second quarter, it was still kind of close, but Melbourne had put about 5 goals on them. And then third and fourth quarter were just one-way traffic, basically. Did Melbourne put more into this? Potentially. Do you make too much of it if you're North Melbourne? You try and ignore the pain, I guess, and say it's pre-season, and I mean that's a fair enough reason. You can't read too much into it, but I think they would have liked to have seen a bit better performance, if I'm being completely honest. In terms of the actual game, Cozzy Pickett was outstanding. That guy is an absolute freak, and if he plays anywhere near that level for this season, this Demons team might surprise quite a few people. He had 28 touches and 5 goals. He was showing up everywhere. He was huge. Mychek kicked a goal in about 20 seconds into his first game as a Demon, but he did end up with concussion from a Charlie Coburn tackle. We'll see if the match review look at that. I don't know if they do look at practice game. I think they do. But Mychek, yeah, he's out with concussion, so he'll probably miss their next preseason game. Melbourne midfield, though, this new look Melbourne midfield, no Oliver, no Petrarca, no worries today. Jack Steele was great. He had plenty of the football. Langford was huge. We've been talking him up. I really am a Harvey Langford fan. And obviously Pickett was outstanding as well. Max Heath was really solid in the ruck. He played very, very good. How will that shape up this year? Obviously, Max Gawn is their number one ruck. Will they play 2? We'll see once Max Gawn's back and once the season kicks off. But Heath was good. And Latrell Pickett, pretty solid. First year draft pick from last year. First round draft pick from last season. Looked really, really good. As a first hit out, we'll see a bit of him this year, I reckon, in this Melbourne Demons team. Caleb Daniel had 33 touches. Was pretty good off the back line. Simpkin, Sheasel, really good. I mean, they did at least Sheasel did what you expect. Simpkin can have the occasional quiet game, but he was pretty solid in this one. Darling was an okay target up forward, but they didn't give them enough opportunities. Justin Cherry was solid in the ruck. Wasn't outstanding. Him and Heath probably split the battle, which in terms of where both of those two players are, you'd probably say that's a bit disappointing for Cherry. Players missing. Demons had Gawn, May, Finey, Melksham and Petty all not playing. The Roos were missing Wardlaw, McKercher, McDonald, Fisher, Dawson, Curtis, Whitlock, Trembath. So I think overall both teams were pretty close to full strength, like a few players missing each. But two of the stronger lineups of the weekend. The Demons did play a lot more players, I believe. I think they had 10 on the bench, whereas the Kangaroos only had a couple. Like the normal amount plus two sort of thing, so probably 4 or 5 less players. So make of that what you will, but in the end, Melbourne just outplayed them most of the way through this game. So really, really positive showing from them. And North, they just have to write this off. They play Collingwood on Sunday this week in another pracky game, and they'll be hoping to show a lot more in that one, I think, than they did in this one. Alrighty then, moving on to the second last game of the weekend. It was Port Adelaide at Alberton Oval. So Port Adelaide's home ground. I think both teams will be reasonably happy with this hit out. 10-15-75 for the Power. 14-10-94 for the Crows. It was pretty much that margin most of the way through. Just a side note, we did miss about 6 minutes of the final quarter of this game due to KO going down. But really, really good performance from both teams. Thilthorpe absolutely dominating. 5 goals, absolutely flying. He's going to have a massive season this year. He could well be on Coleman Medal Watch very early this season. So keep an eye on big Riley Thilthorpe. They did put him into the midfield at times in this one, which I found a little bit strange, if I am being completely honest. You've got one of the best forwards in the game. Keep him forward, but we'll see what that means going forward, whether they actually do that or not. We'll see. McAndrews was solid in the ruck, did cop a rib injury, so we'll see what that means for the Crows and their ruck plans for 2026. But yeah, that did happen. Jason Horne-Francis was the other injury concern, and this one is a bit of a concern for me, if we're being completely honest. Reported as just like a little niggle to his foot, but the fact that he had surgery on his foot in, I think, November or December, and has had persistent injury issues over the last couple of seasons, it's a little bit concerning to me. So we'll see what that means, how long that means he's out for. But foot injuries can be a pain. Just ask Tom Mitchell, who struggled through it over the last 18 months or so. So we'll keep an eye on Horne-Francis and see what that means. Todd Marshall played back for Port Adelaide. We'll see where that progresses to. Obviously, they didn't play Zerk Thatcher or Ratagalia in this game, so 2 of their main key defenders from last year. So, yeah, I don't know what their back 6 will look like this year, whether they've probably got 4 key defenders, so we'll see which 3 end up playing key defence. What else did we find out in this one? Josh Rochelle, he'll play midfield minutes this year. He'll play more midfield minutes. He probably won't be in their starting inside mid crew, I wouldn't imagine. He'll be part of that second tier one, but we'll see plenty of him. Don't be surprised to see multiple games where he's getting 20 plus 20 odd touches, 23 touches, and kicking a couple goals. So keep an eye on him for a big improver this year, because yeah, they're building him up for that sort of performance, I think. Jace Burgoyne, really good performance in my eyes. His season last year was a little strange. 2 seasons ago, 2024 was great. 2025 started pretty solidly, but didn't put it together for the full season. But hopefully what we saw here was a good hit out, and he can show some really good signs throughout and get back to his best season, maybe even above his best ever season. Vicentini was solid in the ruck. Wasn't outstanding, but pretty solid. And Lukosius was pretty good up forward. Good target for them. Obviously, he didn't get much football in last year or the year before when he was at Gold Coast. So if he can stay fit and healthy, that will be pretty important for them. Josh Worrell, who's on All-Australian watch for us. I think he was unlucky last season, and he was very good in this one as well. The Crows forward line, good. Port Adelaide, they'll be reasonably happy. Didn't kick straight. It was a little windy. But overall, a decent enough hit out for both teams. They'll be pretty happy with it. Players that were missing, Power were missing Butters, obviously, and Georgiadis, who played in Origin the weekend before. So 2 big ins there. Then Wines, Jordan Sweet, Zerk Thatcher, and Ratagalia. So quite a lot of players missing. Some really good talent on their list. So a good hit out for Port Adelaide, who are coming off a season where they really struggled last year. Meanwhile, the Crows, they were missing new recruit, Kawachi. No Sid Draper, who's battling injury, as is Curtin. Hinge, Rankin's didn't play in this one. He'll obviously be missing their first game of the season as well. Isaac Cumming and Mark Keane also not out there. So both teams missing a fair few players, not a massive list. But yeah, good hit outs for both teams. Pretty solid showing. I think they'll both be reasonably happy with it. Neither team play in opening round, so both of their first games is round one. Both of them on the road into Victoria. I know Adelaide played Collingwood on the Saturday night, and I think Port Adelaide plays Sunday against. I was going to say North Melbourne, but it might not be North Melbourne. It might be. It might be. Anyway, they both play opening their first game against a Victorian team in Victoria. So we'll see what that means going forward, what this game we can take from it. But I think Thilthorpe's the main one. He's absolutely flying. And potentially got even better from last year. He was absolutely outstanding last season. He is looking like he will be maybe one of the best, if not the best, key forward in the competition this year. Moving on to the final game of the week. And it was the Western Derby, Saturday morning, bright and early over WA time. Fremantle West Coast. No crowd invited, only friends and family allowed, which I find interesting, but the Dockers got the job done, 12-9-81 to 8-5-53. Scores were level at half-time, so Fremantle did have a better second half. Overall, I think West Coast pretty happy with it. Fremantle, they'll be okay with it. I mean, a couple players they'll be very, very happy with. Once again, results don't mean too much in these games, but overall, it was a tightly contested battle. I think both teams had a bit to play for. I mean, neither team like each other. They never do. So there's always that as well, the bit of a rivalry happening. In terms of Dockers, their forward line, their tall forwards, really, really good. Jai Miss kicked 4. He struggled over the last couple of seasons to regain his best form. So 4 goals here is a really good start to his year. He'll be hoping he can carry that forward into the actual season. Paddy Voss kicked 3. And Josh Tracy only kicked the 1, but he was getting plenty of opportunities and making his presence felt. So he was really good as well. He's probably their number 1 forward option. So I would expect to see him getting more opportunities throughout the season. It was a windy day up there. The ball was on set shots was like moving from post to post, basically. There was one shot in that last quarter, I think it was, where the bloke looked like he was kicking it basically out on the full and it came back and hit the behind post. So she was blowy. There's no doubt about that. West Coast rookies look good. Dersma kicked the first goal of the game and he looked great early. Only ended up with 13 touches and a goal, but a good hit out on the wing for him. Cooper Duff Tytler, he was good. Only 8 touches and a goal, but as a key forward first year, key forward ruckman sort of player, that's a pretty good result. He'll definitely get some game time this year. Tom McCarthy played midfield as we expected from his preseason and what he'd been doing. Looked good. So watch for big numbers from him this year. Elliot Yeo played a fair bit of midfield and forward time. It was good just to see him getting some run in his legs, obviously not playing at all last season. The year before, he was their best midfielder, so they'll be hoping he can support those young midfielders that are coming through, the Harley Reids of the world, and take a little bit of heat and pressure off Harley Reid would be huge for them. Noah Long, the big injury concern here, looked like he went down with potentially a knee injury. We're hoping it's not. I haven't heard anything since the game at time of recording, but hopefully that's not too bad. Players that weren't out there for both teams. For the Dockers, no Sturt, no Darcy, no Luke Ryan, no Jeremy Sharp, no Swiatowski, Bamfield, or Dudley. So they had most of their most of their best 23 out there. Luke Jackson was good. All their midfield trio of Sarong, Brayshaw, and Hayden Young looked good. Just getting run into their legs and under their belts to get that fitness up and start progressing towards that first game of the season. Meanwhile, the Eagles were missing Baker, Starcevic, Ginby, Duggan, and Uys. So a few players there that would definitely be in their best 23. Baker, Starcevic, Ginby, Duggan, all definitely in there. Uys probably as well. So a bit to come for both teams. A good hit out. As I said, halftime scores were level. West Coast put up a fight. They showed some good heart in this. Fremantle are a young team that played finals last year. They'll be expecting big things. So they'll be happy with how their forward line worked, I think. But they've certainly still got some things that they will definitely be working on throughout the rest of pre-season. So keep an eye on that for this weekend's Pracky games. I forgot to change that title on that back page, as I do just about every single episode of this podcast. But that's pretty much all we've got for you for the Match Sims. Before we go, I'll just give you a rundown of what's coming up in the community series this week, the 9 matches. We kick off on Wednesday, Carlton Geelong. Carlton coming off a win. They'll be stoked and ready to go at Icon Park on Wednesday night. Thursday, we've got a double header. First up, the Sydney Battle of the Bridge, pre-season Battle of the Bridge, Sydney v Giants, and then followed by the Q Clash, pre-season Q Clash, which is Lions Gold Coast. So that's our Thursday games. Friday, we have another double header. It's Melbourne Richmond, and then Bulldogs Hawthorn straight after that. And then Saturday, we have another double header. St Kilda Essendon kicking us off before Fremantle Adelaide taking a fight on Saturday afternoon. And then final 2 games on Sunday. We have North v Collingwood and West Coast Port Adelaide. So they're our 9 matches coming up this week in the pre-season community series. Make sure you come back next Monday for a wrap-up on all of those games. We will be going into all of it, everything you need to know. Don't forget to also leave a comment in this video. Let me know all your thoughts about the Match Sim games, who you saw that was good, who was disappointing, who was the best team, who was the best player. Let me know all of that sort of stuff. I want to hear your thoughts. And yeah, we might talk about it in the next episode. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Let's keep that subscription number going up on YouTube and on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscriptions or follows, they all mean a lot. And yeah, check out all the social medias, all Aussie Rules everywhere. I'm just blabbering, so I will let you go, but I appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a big week of Match Sim games. I feel like I've watched 100 hours of football already, and we're only at week 1 of the preseason, which is crazy. But we'll be back on Friday with the podcast. Don't forget to check out the YouTube videos, that all the preseason previews that have gone out. And yeah, I'll catch us on the next one.